Hello everyone, welcome to What If Issei Had True Godzilla's Sacred Gear Part 1. Before we start, please go support Dragon Necro King 132 for writing that awesome fanfic. Now let's begin. Chapter 1, Third Person POV. Oh, you're finally here. What took you so long? Did you get lost or something? It doesn't really matter at this point. Actually, it didn't matter at all. Huh? You're wondering what I'm talking about. Oh, you don't have to worry about it. The person cleared his throat. Now then, let me ask you something. Do you know what pain is like? Do you know what it's like to go through absolute hell while still being alive? Like you feel every single second of the endless pain and agony, begging and screaming for it to stop, only for it to get much worse. I know the feeling of pain. Wanting to just end it all, to end the pain, asking myself, why am I here? Why am I still alive? Why do I have to suffer? Just kill me please. However, I soon learned why. It's cause I was something that wasn't human. I wasn't anything that existed on Earth. No, I was something else completely. I was a singular point. It was a regular day in the town of Kuo as the sun was high in the sky, the birds flew through the air, and the gentle cool breeze blew through the leaves on the trees. It looked like it was gonna be a peaceful, beautiful, yet quiet day. Inside a two-story house were a well-furnished living room, consisting of a comfy couch, a small coffee table, a TV hanging on the wall, and some other decorations. There was also a nice-looking kitchen, being a little shiny and stylish. There was a staircase that led to the next floor of the house, which had about 2 main bedrooms, a bathroom, and a spare room that could be used for a guest or be used for storage. Inside one of the bedrooms, it was slightly messy with a few magazines, pictures, and some clothes on the ground. The bed was slightly messy with a large lump on it. There was also the sound of slight snoring. Suddenly, an alarm clock went off. But it wasn't a regular alarm clock. Not this alarm clock showed a video of a cute girl. Suddenly, a hand raised up and turned the alarm clock off. The one who turned off the alarm clock lifted his head as it was revealed to be a brown-haired boy with brown eyes. This boy's name was Issei Hyoudou, and he currently had a perverted grin on his face. Issei. Hi. The brown-haired boy got up as he proceeded to get out of his bed and stand up, only to step on one of his poor magazines and slip, making him fall to the ground. Issei. Ow, why hi. Issei groaned in pain as he brought himself back to his feet. He looked at the poor magazine he slipped on and picked it up. Issei. Maybe I should have put these away when I was done jacking off. Issei was basically an average 17-year-old teenage boy, but there was one thing different about him. He was a massy pervert. Yeah, his father introduced him to op-eye and porn magazines when he was young, and from that day he wanted to touch breasts and become the Harem King. His mother didn't like this and scolded the young boy's father for corrupting her sweet and innocent baby boy. She tried to make Issei stop by saying that he'll never become the Harem King if he's a pervert, but it didn't help at all, and it made Issei determined to become the Harem King even more. Issei chuckled to himself as he stood up and placed the magazine on his bed. He then looked out the window and was greeted by the blinding light from the sun. Issei. Geez, that's bright. Issei, breakfast is ready, get down here and eat, school is gonna start soon. Issei flinched slightly from hearing his mother yelling. Why did she have to be so damn loud? Like seriously, was she trying to wake him up or everyone in town? This question has been with Issei since he started high school. Issei then shrugged his shoulders. Issei. Might as well get dressed. And so Issei started to get dressed in his school uniform. When he was done, he made his way downstairs to the kitchen. The sweet scent of cooked food filled Issei's nose, which made the brown-haired boy smile. When he arrived at the kitchen, he saw his mother, Mick Hyoudou, and father, Goru Hyoudou. His mother was the first to notice the brown-haired boy. Mickey? Finally out of bed are you? I thought I was gonna have to break your door down again. Issei chuckled slightly as he rubbed the back of his neck. Issei. Good thing that you didn't have to, cause I don't think we want another incident like last time. Mickey. This is why you gotta stop watching and reading those perverted things, otherwise you will never get a girlfriend. Issei puffed out his chest. Issei. Never op-eye is life. I will become the Harem King, and no one is gonna stop me from achieving my dreams. Boru sniffled as he wiped a happy tear from his eye. Boru. That's my boy, I'm so proud of you. This caused Mickey to slap the back of her husband's head. This made the man hold his head in pain as his wife glared at him with a dark aura around her. Mickey. Silence you, I'm still mad at you for corrupting my once innocent baby boy. Boru gulped in fear as he began to sweat. Boru. Why yes ma'am, I'll be quiet down. Issei began to sweat a little when his mother turned her gaze to him. He thought he was gonna be slapped as well. Mickey. Now eat your breakfast, Issei. You don't have much time before school starts. Issei saluted his mother as he didn't want to make her angry. If he did, then he knew that it would be the end of him for sure. Issei. Yes ma'am. And so Issei quickly sat down and began to eat his breakfast, which was pancakes with syrup, whipped cream, and strawberries. Kuo Academy, a school that Issei attends. Not much is known about Kuo Academy, other than the fact that it was originally an all-girls private school. At some point, Kuo Academy changed into a co-ed school, which meant that it was now allowing boys to attend it, but due to the fact that it was getting new students, a new school building was made. But the old school building wasn't destroyed, in fact, it was reused by a student who decided to turn it into a clubroom for her club. Currently, Issei was running towards the main gate, panting heavily as he was running out of time. Issei. Buck. Issei ran like there was no tomorrow. He couldn't be late for school cause if he was gonna get suspended and get an ass kicking from his mother when he got home. Issei. I can't be late, I need to become the Harem King. Issei gritted teeth as he kept running. As he was unknown to him, some sort of red dust began to come off his body, but Issei didn't notice this red dust cause he was trying not to be late. Birds began to fly away in fear of the red dust that was coming off Issei's body. It was like they knew what it was. However, Issei managed to arrive on time. But it was very close. He was about a couple of seconds away from being late. Issei panted heavily as he wiped the sweat from his forehead. Issei. Phew, that was a close one. Issei. Turning to the direction of the voice, the brown-haired boy was greeted by his two friends Mitsuda and Motohama. Issei has been friends with them ever since he first got to Kuo Academy. Sure, there are times where their friendship is questionable cause Mitsuda and Motohama usually ditch Issei, but somehow they are all still friends. Issei. Oh, hey guys. Mitsuda. Dude, you were nearly late, you were only a few seconds away from being suspended for 3 weeks. Issei deadpanned at his friend. Issei. Yeah, I know you bucking idiot. Mitsuda glared at the brown-haired boy. Mitsuda. Hey, I just saying. Issei. And I don't need you reminding me, you bucking idiot. Time skip. Issei. Man, that was a rough day of school. Issei was currently standing on a bridge, resting his arms on the railings as he sighed. He had just finished school and it was getting late due to the fact that the sun was slowly setting. He didn't want to waste much time, but he just wanted to enjoy the cool breeze that was washing over his face. However, as Issei closed his eyes for a moment, something happened. He began to get visions of something like that, and they weren't anything he expected. The first vision showed some sort of red flying dinosaur creature flying through the air on a bright and sunny day. The second vision showed another version of the red dinosaur, but it looked way bigger and darker, like it was covered in some sort of darkness. Issei also noticed that it was flying through a city that looked very familiar to Kuo, but it couldn't be, since the buildings were covered in some sort of red dust or paint. Red dust? Issei didn't know why, but that word felt very familiar to him somehow. But it couldn't be, since this is the first time he's even thinking about it. So why does it feel familiar to him? Why? Suddenly, Issei saw the last vision and it was much worse than the other two. In fact, it made Issei feel like he was in a nightmare. He found himself in a destroyed Kuo. There was fire everywhere as buildings and cars were decimated. The trees were dead as the water turned blood red and the air was covered in some sort of red mist or something. Issei. What happened? What's going on? What did this? Issei could hear the screams of pain and agony echoing all around him, hearing the begs and screams for help. However, what got Issei's attention was a low growl that made him turn to a raging fire in front of him. It was much bigger than any of the other fires and looked more and more crimson red in color. Suddenly, Issei's eyes widened as he took a step back in fear. The brown-haired boy saw something rise from the flames. What it was filled the boy with despair and hopelessness. Fear filled Issei's body as he stared at a true monster. It was more than that. It was something else entirely. Issei saw the look in its eyes, he saw the rage and the hatred in them. Issei. What is that thing? Excuse me? Issei's eyes shot open as he jumped back slightly. He panted slightly as he placed a hand on his face. Issei. What was that? Excuse me? Issei turned to the voice and was greeted by an attractive young woman with violet eyes having a slender body. She had long silky black hair down to her hips. But what got Issei's attention was her outfit. She wore a school uniform that consisted of a dark red jacket with a letter P embroidered in gold, a white undershirt, a red bow, and a green skirt with a thin white stripe around the lower end of it. Issei. What's that outfit? I've never seen it before. Is there another school in Kuo? Issei then cleared his throat as he gave a friendly smile. Issei. Can help you? Girl. Are you Issei Hyoudou? By any chance? Issei. Ah, yeah. That's mean. This girl knew who he was. This was kind of setting of red flags in Issei's head. He felt like he should just walk away, but she was a cute girl and he didn't want to be mean. Yuma. My name is Yuma and I wanted to ask you something. Issei. Oh, what do you want to ask me? Yuma blushed as Issei had to admit that she looked really cute. Yuma. I was wondering if you wanted to be my boyfriend. Yuma's words absolutely shocked Issei. A girl actually asked him if he wanted to be her boyfriend. This is something that the brown-haired boy never expected would happen to him. Issei. Please tell me I'm dreaming, this can't be real, I have to be dreaming. He then remembered that he couldn't be dreaming cause he wouldn't dream about Aika, that woman was creepy as hell. Issei then cleared his throat. Issei. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you correctly. Did you say you want me to be your boyfriend? Uma nodded her head as she blushed slightly. Issei began to think about it for a moment, a girl who he just met is asking to be his boyfriend. Issei should just say no and walk away like a responsible, but he didn't want to miss the chance of getting a hot girlfriend. Issei. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? I mean it's not like I'm gonna die or anything. Chapter 2. Third person POV. The ocean, the vast blue of open water. The ocean is a place that is both beautiful and very dangerous. Maybe it's cause of what lives in the ocean. All the dangerous creatures that could easily kill someone, or maybe it cause humans fear of getting stranded out in the ocean. But it's more of the fear of the unknown, since humanity has only explored about 5% of the ocean, they know more about space than what happens on their own planet. But there is a legend that is known, a legend that has been told all around the world. A legend of a giant monster called Gojira or Godzilla, the mere mention of its name sends shivers down even the bravest of man. They say when the sea turns red, the monster of the apocalypse will rise from the sea and bring a great catastrophe that will be the end of everything. However, may believe it to only be what it is, a legend. But since humanity has only explored 5% of the vast ocean, maybe the legend is true. It was a beautiful day as the birds flew high in the air above the vast open blue, but it didn't last for long since the birds soon began to fly in random directions. Almost as if they sensed something that terrified them. However, some of them weren't lucky as they suddenly died and fell into the water below. When this happened, the water started to turn red, not from blood since the birds couldn't bleed. Air bubbles began to appear, from the amount there was it was as if something was coming to the surface of the water at a fast speed, but what would it be? It couldn't be a dolphin or a whale. Suddenly, a large creature that resembled a pterodon erupted from the water with its wings spread out. The creature was red in color, its beak was long and curves upward towards the tip, and its inside is completely covered in teeth. In between the top and bottom of the upper beak is a row of uniform blue scales starting a quarter of the way from the tip and ending at the eye. On the back of its head is a singular, pteranodon-like crest, covered in a yellow and white pattern that runs along its back to the end of its long tail. Along the creature's long neck are a blue julep, where the color spreads along the bottom jaw and lower beak. On its forehead, back, and tail are blue fins, with blood veins running up each one. Along its chest are rows of spikes that come to an end along its stomach. The creature flapped its wings, allowing it to hover above the water as it let out a loud roar. With that, the creature began to fly to the nearest land. As it was flying, the creature seemed to be giving off some sort of red smoke or red dust. It was a casual day at the school of Kuo Academy. The students that arrived early were chatting among themselves, as the ones who weren't early are just arriving now. Making her way towards the school was Ra's Gremory. Riaz appeared to be an average beautiful young woman with a voluptuous body, but that's what people think she is. But in secret, she is a devil, not those from movies with red skin, goat legs, or ram horns. Not those were demons, devils are much different than demons. For starters, devils are more intelligent while demons are rent and use brute strength. Riaz was a part of a very powerful devil family, she is actually next in line to be the head of her clan. However, at the moment Riaz was in deep thought about something. Riaz? Where could he have gone? There's no way he survived that fallen angel attack, I saw his blood and some sort of red dust. Flashback, Riaz was sitting in her clubroom waiting patiently. She was told by one of her servants that a boy named Issei Hyoudou gained a date with a girl named Uma, but Riaz knew that girl was a fallen angel. The fallen angel was basically an angel that was kicked out of heaven for committing sinful actions, such as murder, lust, and much more. Riaz knew that the fallen angels were in Kuo, but she didn't do anything about it cause she had to wait and see what they were planning first. Turns out they were sent to Kuo to keep an eye on Issei Hyoudou, but looks like they have decided to murder him. Riaz has also kept an eye on Issei for some time and has sensed that he had a sacred gear, which is also known as God's artifacts, which are items with powerful abilities bestowed upon humans by God of the Bible. So Riaz had an idea to save Issei's life, she would reincarnate him as one of her servants. That way he can live and Riaz gets a new servant, so she sent her familiar on the day that his date was happening and gave Issei a summoning circle on it. However, something went wrong. Riaz has waited for Issei to summon her, but nothing. Riaz? He should have summoned me by now, maybe the fallen hasn't killed him yet. And so Riaz waited and waited and waited for Issei to summon her. She stared at the summon circle, but nothing happened at all. The crimson-haired girl narrowed her eyes as she stood up from her seat. Riaz? Akeno. The door opened as a girl entered the room. This was Akeno, Ria's best friend and queen. Akeno was a beautiful young woman with a voluptuous figure, very long black hair, and violet eyes. Her hair was tied in a long ponytail, reaching all the way down to her legs, with two strands sticking out from the top and sloping backward, with an orange ribbon keeping it in place. Akeno bowed to her best friend. Akeno. Yes, Riaz. How may I be of assistance to you? Riaz. I'm going to check out where Issei and the fallen are, I'll contact you if I need backup. Akeno bowed to her king. Bakeno. As you command. Ria summoned a transporting magic circle and stepped onto it. When she did, the magic circle began to glow red. Before long, Ria's disappeared from Bakeno's sight only to reappear at the Kuo Park. The sun was still setting and no one was around at all. Ria's. Strange, Issei, and that Fallen should be here. The magic circle should teleport me to where that piece of paper was, and it's here. Riaz looked around and saw nothing, but she soon looked at the fountain and saw some blood. Riaz walked to the blood and kneeled down. She touched the blood and saw that it was still warm. Riaz. It's still warm, which means this happened about a minute or so ago, but where is Issei's body? The Fallen couldn't have taken his cause, she would have no use for it. As Riaz was thinking, she soon noticed something next to the blood. It looked like some sort of red dust. Riaz. Red dust. Riaz reached to touch it, but once she did, she pulled her hand back and held onto it. Riaz. What the hell was that? When she touched the red dust, it felt like it was doing something to her, but she didn't know what. But what she does know is that it didn't feel good. Riaz. This red dust is strange, I've never seen anything like it before, I never even heard of red dust before. She then looked back at the blood before looking back at the red dust. She wondered if whatever happened to Issei had something to do with the red dust. Riaz. I'll have to take a sample and give it to Sona, see what she thinks about it. Flashback end. Riaz. I still don't get it, what does that red dust have to do with Issei's body disappearing? It makes no sense whatsoever. Riaz let out a small sigh. Riaz. I'll go see what Sona has found out with that red dust. And so Riaz began to make her way inside the school building. As she walked, she heard the chatter of the other students. Some are about Riaz and some are not, but Riaz didn't bother listening to the words of others since she had a lot on her mind. Before long, she arrived at the student council building, having to walk up to the third floor of the school building. Knocking on the door, Riaz waited for an answer from the one inside the room. Come in. Opening the door, Riaz entered the room and closed the door behind her. She saw a girl sitting at a desk working on some paperwork. This was her childhood friend Sona Citri. Sona was also a devil like Riaz and a part of a devil family that is really close to her family. When the two first came to Kuo, Sona changed her last name to blend in and not draw attention. Riaz didn't cause she had no reason to fear anything, though Sona did not like it, she respected Riaz's decision. Sona looked up from the paperwork and saw the crimson-haired girl who stood at the door. Sona. Ah, hello Riaz. It's good to see you again. Riaz smiled at her childhood friend. Riaz. It's good to see you too, Sona. How's the paperwork? Sona. Frustrating, but I knew I would have to do quite a lot since I became the student council president. But I'm sure that's not why you are here. Riaz almost giggled in amusement. Sona was really smart, and since she and Riaz were childhood friends, she knew a lot about Riaz and that she doesn't do friendly visits without a reason. Riaz. I came to see if you have discovered what that red dust is. Sona went silent as she placed down her paperwork and opened the drawer on her desk. Riaz watched as she took out a flower pot that had a small yet beautiful flower in it. But Riaz noticed something. There was a little bit of the red dust on it, and it looked like it was slowly spreading. Sona. It would seem that this red dust is parasitic, but it isn't alive. I analyzed it and it seems to be some sort of archetype. This confused Riaz as she raised an eyebrow at her childhood friend's words. Riaz. An archetype. What are you talking about, Sona? Sona. You see, Riaz, archetypes are referred to a group of exotic materials. It seems to have taken the form of this red dust. When I analyzed it, is discovered that its occurrence creates a reaction of some kind. Riaz nodded her head understanding. Sona. However, after some more analyzing, is discovered that the molecule is trans-dimensional. I'm guessing it extends out and can touch other dimensions, with half of it will be in another dimension at any one time. This shocked Riaz. Riaz. Trans-dimensional, how could such a small thing be capable of something like that? Sona. I'm not sure, but if I had to guess. I feel like that there is something out there, something that is capable of manipulating the archetype. Riaz was left completely speechless from Sona's theory. She doesn't think that her childhood friend is wrong, but she was hoping she was. The idea of someone or something out in the world being able of controlling this red dust which is capable of going to other dimensions frightened Riaz a little. Sona then cleared her throat. Sona. Tell me, Riaz, have you heard about the legend that the humans have spoken of? Riaz shook her head. Riaz. No, I haven't. What's this legend? If you don't mind me asking. Sona went silent as she stood up and walked to a bookshelf. Riaz watched as Sona looked through the levels of books before grabbing one that looked quite old and slightly torn. The heiress of Citri turned and walked back to her desk and placed the old book on the table. Both Riaz and Sona stared at the book in silence as the heiress of Gremory slowly reached her hand out and opened the book. When she did, she went through the pages until Sona told her to stop. Riaz's eyes nearly widened in shock as she stared at the page in front of her. The page showed a man on a small raft fighting some winged monsters while a large and monstrous fish-looking creature swam next to the battle. Riaz. Sona, what is this? Sona. This is the legend I spoke of. They say when the sea turns red, the apocalyptic beast shall appear and start the great catastrophe that shall be the end of everything. Riaz was left even more shocked by this. She wanted to say that it couldn't be real, but then again, both she and Sona are a part of the supernatural, and humans don't really believe in that. Riaz. Let's just hope that this legend stays a legend. Chapter 3. Third person Pav. Sitting inside her clubroom was Riaz Gremory, who sat at her desk, thinking deeply. Standing beside her was her best friend and queen, Akeno. Sitting on one of the two couches was a white-haired girl with amber eyes. This girl's name was Kaneko, and she was Ria's work piece. Kaneko was a girl who didn't talk much, hated perverts, but she also loved sweets. One would say that she was in love with them. Currently, Riaz was deep in thought as Sona's words echoed through the crimson-haired girl's mind. Riaz. When the sea turns red, the apocalyptic beast shall appear and start the great catastrophe that shall be the end of everything. Is it true? No, it can't be true. It's only a legend, but what if it is real? Riaz has heard of many legends during her time in the human worlds, such as Bigfoot, Mothman, the Loch Ness Monster, the Wendigo. However, Riaz didn't believe in any of them since she knew they weren't real. Like she was a part of the supernatural world and was a devil, and she has never heard of anyone from the free factions meeting creatures such as them. Like what the hell even is a Bigfoot? Much a gorilla that can stand on two legs. However, despite knowing that none of that folklore is real, she gets the feeling that this legend is real and the creature is real as well. Riaz. Why do I think it's real? Like there's no way it could be real. I'll have to ask my brother if he knows anything about this legend when I call him. Akeno. Is something wrong, Riaz? This snapped Riaz out of her thoughts as she looked at Akeno. Riaz. I'm fine, Akeno, no need to worry about me. Akeno. Are you sure? You seem very distracted about something. You sure there is nothing on your mind? Riaz. Yes, I'm alright. Akeno knew that something was wrong, she could hear it in Riaz's voice. But she didn't want to do anything that would anger Riaz. Suddenly, the door to the clubroom opened and someone entered. Riaz, Akeno, and Kaneko looked and saw it was only Kiba. Kiba was a handsome young man with short blonde hair, blue eyes, and a mole underneath his left eye. Kiba is well known around Kuo, being called the Prince of Kuo by all the girls. The number of fangirls he had was ridiculous to the point where it's actually scary. Riaz. Hello Kiba, how was your trip here? Get swarmed by your fangirls. Kiba deadpanned at his king. Kiba. No, I went to watch some JoJo and listen to my No No Square song. What do you think? The three girls nearly giggled at Kiba's words. They had to admit it was kinda funny. Kiba. So, what's going on? Kaneko. Don't know yet. Riaz was thinking of something. Riaz sighed slightly as her servants looked at her. Riaz. It's nothing, don't worry about it. The crimson-haired girl then turned her attention to Akeno. Riaz. Any news on any stray devils in the area? It's been a while since we faced one. Akeno. Actually yes, I recently got word from the Great Duke that there is a stray devil very close by. Riaz smiled slightly as she looked at Kaneko and Kiba. Riaz. You two ready to go take down a stray devil? Both Kaneko and Kiba smirked. Kiba. You bet. Kaneko nodded her head, this made Riaz smile. Riaz. Alright then, let's move out. Night rose over the Kuo as the people were in their warm homes, fast asleep in their nice and comfy beds, dreaming away with no worries whatsoever. Outside an abandoned warehouse, a bright red light appeared as Riaz, Akeno, Kiba, and Kaneko appeared. Riaz. So, this is where the stray devil is located. Kaneko. Seems like a place one would be. Kiba. Yeah. Riaz stared at the abandoned warehouse, but she got a feeling that something bad may happen. She didn't know why, but she feels like that she should stay on guard. Akeno noticed Riaz's reaction. She wanted to say something, but had a feeling Riaz would just say that it was nothing. So Akeno decided to stay quiet and ask Riaz what's wrong later. Riaz took a step forward before she looked at her servants. Riaz. Alright then, let's head in and take down this stray devil. All. Hi. Riaz looked at Kaneko as she nodded her head. The white-haired walked to the door and was about to punch it open with her rook strength. But she didn't cause she noticed something, the door was slightly open. Kaneko. The door's open. Kiba. Well that makes things a little easy for us. Riaz and her servant slowly walked into the warehouse, saw absolutely nothing cause it was dark. Just like the exterior, the interior was just as bad as the outside. There were broken crates, glass, and some destroyed machines as well. Riaz and the others guessed that the warehouse used to be some sort of shipping place where they store their cargo. It was quiet and really dark, definitely due to the fact that the lights haven't been used in years, or maybe they were destroyed. But thanks to Kaneko's enhanced senses, she was able to see a little better. Kaneko. Smells like Akeno's room. Akeno. And how would you know what my room smells like? Kaneko deadpanned at Akeno. Kaneko. You forget I have enhanced senses. Akeno. Oh. Kiba chuckled slightly. Kiba. She got you there, Akeno. Akeno. Oh, go sit on a dick, Kiba. Kiba. That's your job, thought. Riaz. Enough now is not the time, foe. Oh, what do we have here? Hearing the sudden voice caused Riaz and her servants to turn and see someone in the darkness. Riaz. Reveal yourself. The giggle was heard. Very well. Coming out of the darkness was a young woman with a voluptuous figure with long black hair. Riaz. I know who you are, you Visor. Visor? Why yes I am, and who may you be? Riaz grew a serious expression. Riaz. Visor, you are hereby ordered to return to your master or you shall be terminated. Visor simply laughed as she played with her own tits. Visor. You are just jealous that your breasts aren't as big as mine. This caused Ria's right eye to twitch in annoyance. Was this bitch saying that her chest was better than hers? The red aura began to cover Ria's body as she glared at Visor. It was time to teach this bitch a lesson she will never forget. However, Visor soon revealed the rest of her body. While the upper half resembled a human, the lower half didn't. In fact, her lower half was gigantic and beastly with 4 legs, each having sharp claws and a snake as a tail. Riaz. Take this bitch down. Kaneko charged forward and leaped towards Visor, who tried to swipe at the white-haired girl with one of her claws. However, Kaneko punched the claw away as she punched Visor in the face and sending her flying to the other side of the warehouse. Kaneko. Meow motherfucker. Visor gritted her teeth as she got back on her feet and groped her own breast, only for magic circles to appear on the nipples as she fired laser beams at Kaneko and the others. Riaz and her peerage began to dodge the laser beams as they hit the warehouse walls, causing holes in them. Riaz. Titty lasers. That's a new one. Bakeno. You said it, never thought it would be possible. But looks like it is. Tiba narrowed his eyes as he took out his swords. Bah. My turn and. In an instant, both of Visor's front claws were slashed off, blood splattered on the ground as the stray screams in pain and agony. However, despite this, she was also confused since she didn't even see what attacked her. Whatever it was moved so fast that it was basically invisible to her. Visor. What the hell was that? What even attacked me? It couldn't be that red-haired bitch or that Thunder Thor, since they haven't moved a muscle yet. There's also no way that flat-chest cat did this to me either, that only leaves. Suddenly, Visor screamed as pain engulfed her body. Slash marks began to appear all over her body from her face, her chest, and her lower half. I'm going to. She then saw what was doing, or rather who, it was the blonde-haired boy. However, when she saw him, the only thing that filled Visor was fear. Hiba. Dye you in my favorite color. Visor eyes widened as she took a step back in fear. The mere sight of the sadistic grin filled her to the brim with nothing but fear. And the look in his eyes, it was like she was staring into the eyes of a psychopath. Riaz shook her head and sighed. Riaz. Kiba, down boy. No need to scare her well that much. Kiba chuckled. Kiba. I guess I overdid it. Visor. What the hell are yo? Visor was cut off as she was struck by lightning. The stray devil felt nothing but pain and agony. Bakeno. Oh, I'm sorry, were you saying something? Well, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it's my turn to have some fun. Bakeno smiled as she had a sinister aura around her body. She opened her eyes as she continued to strike Visor with lightning bolt after lightning bolt. Visor's screams of pain and agony echoed throughout the warehouse. Riaz was so lucky that she placed a barrier up around the place, otherwise it would be swarming with humans by now. Bakeno. Hearing your screams turn me on so much I feel like I'm gonna orgasm. Bakeno licked her fingers as she continued her attacks on the stray devil, causing more screams of pain and agony. Riaz, Kaneko, and Kiba sweat dropped at the queen's sadistic nature. In fact, the trio slightly took a step back away from the black-haired girl as she did her thing. When it comes to Akeno, you better back away from her, otherwise you're gonna end up as her next victim. What's worse is that she takes pleasure when she tortures her victims. Yeah, she is basically into S&M. Tiba looked at Riaz as he chuckled nervously. Tiba. Shouldn't you stop her, Riaz? Riaz let out a small sigh. Riaz. Yeah, I guess I should stop her. Akeno, that's enough, down girl down. Akeno stopped what she was doing and looked at her king while pouting. Akeno. Aw, but I want to torture her some more. Riaz deadpanned as Visor laid on the ground, her entire body burned. But yet after all that, she was somehow still alive. Maybe it was cause of whatever she was crossed with, cause Riaz knew that Visor couldn't be just a devil. She looked like she was experimented on. Riaz. You basically burned her to a crisp. I'm surprised that she's even still alive. Akeno pouted as she crossed her arms, causing her breast to bound slightly. Akeno. Fine. Riaz sighed as she walked up to the charred and barely alive Visor. She couldn't help but have a smirk on her face. Riaz. Now then, any last words, Visor? Visor. F-buck why yo. Before Visor could finish her sentence, something burst through the ceiling. Everyone except Visor looked up and saw it was a red creature that looked like a pterodon. Riaz's eyes widened. Riaz. Look out. The crimson-haired girl and her peerage managed to dodge the creature as it landed on the charred body of Visor. It then began to bite and claw her, making the stray devils scream out in pain and agony as she begged for help. Visor. Help me please. However, she was soon silenced as the creature bit her head and ripped it off, causing blood to gush out like a fountain. Riaz and the others watched as the creature devoured Visor's head in one go. This made them sick as they wanted to puke. However, they had more pressing matters as they watched the creature rip and tear into Visor's charred body. Bakeno. Riaz, what is that thing? Riaz. I don't know, but it seems to resemble a pterodon. But it can't be one since those are extinct. Kiba. Doesn't look extinct to me. The creature stopped what it was doing, it then turned its attention to Riaz and her peerage. It looked at the group as it tilted its head at the sight of them. It seemed curious about them, it was like a baby or rather a dog that got a new toy. It sniffed them as Riaz and her peerage remained where they were. However, in an instant, the creature charged at them and went for a bite. But the devils managed to dodge the attack. Kiba. Geez, it went from curious to aggressive in an instant. Kaneko. No kidding. The creature turned and snarled at them as Kaneko charged towards it with blazing speed. Kaneko. Meow motherfucker. She went in to punch, but the creature jumped back and landed on some wooden crates. Riaz. It dodged Kaneko's punch. This thing must be intelligent or really fast. The creature soon let out a loud roar which caused Kaneko to grip her ears due to her enhanced senses. Kiba. Kaneko. Kiba took out his sword and charged towards the creature. Using his knight speed, he should be able to land a hit on the creature. However, once again the creature dodged the attack and made Kiba only slash the wooden crates. Bakeno. It dodged Kiba's attack as well. This creature must be good. Suddenly, the creature looked up as if it heard something. It then jumped up and began to flap its wings. Riaz and her peerage watched as the creature gained some height as it let out another roar, almost like it was calling something. Riaz hoped that the creature wasn't calling in any backup, cause she's not sure if her peerage will be able to take on a whole army of them. But she soon lost her worry as the creature stopped as it came crashing down to the ground, making a loud thud. Chapter 4. Third-person POV. Sailing across the vast ocean blue was a small fishing boat that looked like it's been around for the last 50 or so years. The boat had a mixture of colors such as a brown to almost red color for the bottom with a blue top. It also had some strips of white on it as well. However, despite its old age, the boat did not look like it was gonna spring a leak anytime soon. Which is a good thing cause you don't want to be out in the open sea and all of a sudden your boat springs a leak. On the top deck was an elderly man who looked like he was in his 40s or maybe even his 50s. He had white hair and ocean blue eyes. He wore a traditional fisherman outfit with a tattered shirt, overalls, and high rain boots. The elderly man took a deep breath, taking in the sea salty air, and sighed before growing a small smile. Elderly man. Ah, what a beautiful day for fishing. I wonder what kind of fish I will catch today. The man's gaze turned the vast of unbroken blue. He loved the ocean ever since he was a little boy. His father and his grandfather were fishermen who caught loads of fish in their time. They even brought him along on a few of their trips when he was a little boy. He remembered a time where his father caught a huge fish only to slip and end up kissing it. His grandfather and him laughed so hard that they nearly died from laughing. There was also the time where his grandfather threw his fishing rod out only to rip off his own pants and not realize it for a whole hour. The elderly man chuckled to himself at the memories. Elderly man. Those were some good memories, I will never forget those. However, the elderly man soon began to remember a story that his grandfather told him when he was young. A story that he claimed to be true. He told him that one day when he was out on the open ocean he saw the sea turn red and a large monstrous creature rose from the ocean. Since he was a boy at the time, he believed his grandfather's words and wondered if he would ever meet such a creature. But now that he is in the elderly age, he still wonders if such a creature even exists. Like he understood that humanity has only explored 5% of the ocean, while the remaining 95% is still unknown, so there may be a chance for a creature like it to be out there. Elderly man. Maybe my grandfather is right, maybe it is out there. It is a possibility since 95% of the ocean is unexplored, maybe it's down at the deepest point of the ocean, maybe one day humanity will find it, and maybe I'll be the first. The elderly man smiled at the idea. He soon went back to his regular schedule of waiting for a fish to bite his line. But his attention was soon drawn to a spot in the water as he saw a pod of whales. This was a marvelous sight to see. Pods of whales are quite rare cause they normally stay below the water unless they are coming up for some air. By the looks of things, the pod came up to catch some air before heading back down. The elderly man quickly rushed to grab his camera, he wanted to remember this moment. Elderly man. I must take a picture of this is such a rare sight to see. He grabbed his camera and quickly rushed back. He started to take pictures of the pod as he saw there was a mother, a father, and a baby whale. It was a beautiful sight, enough to warm the elderly man's weak heart. However, he soon notices something off in the distance, something that confused him. The water was turning red, and it wasn't from blood cause it looked like the water was changing from blue to red. Elderly man. What is going on? Why is the water changing color? Suddenly, the elderly man was cut off by the sound of a whale pod. It sounded like something was making them uneasy, which confused the elderly man cause whales are the biggest creatures to live on Earth, what could make them uneasy? The elderly man soon got his answer as something rose from the water in blinding speed, but it gave the elderly man enough time to see what it was. It was huge, double if not triple the size of an adult whale. It was some sort of creature that looked like it was from a fantasy book or a video game. It was red in color with a lighter underbelly. Its eye was the most terrifying thing about the creature. It looked soulless. In the jaws of the creature was the baby whale, or rather what was left of it, caused the creature's massive jaws bit the poor thing in half. The sight made the elderly man sick to the stomach. He knew the creatures had to survive, but this didn't look like survival. No, it looked like sport. Elderly man. What the hell was that thing? I've never seen anything like it. The elderly man's eyes widened as he soon thought of something. Could that be the creature his grandfather talked about? The creature that only appears when the sea turns red. If that was the case, then the elderly man had to get back to land quickly before the creature decides to turn him into his next target. Elderly man. I gotta get out of here. Unfortunately, the elderly man didn't get a chance to finish his sentence as something leaped out of the water. A huge shadow loomed over him as the elderly man had enough time to look up and see what it was, but that's all he was able to do. It was the creature that destroyed the baby whale. It leaped out of the water and landed on the elderly man's fishing boat, completely destroying it. A woman with brown hair and blue eyes appeared on a TV screen with a sheet of paper in her hand. She wore a standard new reporter outfit, but with some modifications, such as a slightly unbuttoned top which revealed her cleavage. Newswoman. Good morning people of Kuo, we bring breaking news. There have been rumors of mysterious flying creatures sighted all over the world. Multiple images appeared on the screen showing sightings of the same red creature that Riaz and her peerage saw in the warehouse. Currently sitting in her chair with her queen and her childhood friend was Riaz. The three of them stared at the TV screen as they saw the creature. Sona looked at Riaz. Sona. So you weren't kidding, it really did look like a dinosaur. Riaz nodded her head. Sona. But it doesn't make any sense, the dinosaurs were wiped out 65 million years ago. So how can these even be alive? Riaz. That I'm not sure, but what I do know is that whatever it was, just died for no reason. That is what I want to know, it had no injuries or sign of bleeding. So why did it just die? Akeno. Well, this is my own theory. Both Sona and Riaz turned their attention to Akeno, who looked at the two. Akeno. But maybe it's cause it entered an area that it didn't know about. I have heard that some animals may die if they enter somewhere they don't know about. Sona. That could be the possibility, but I will have my peerage take a closer look at the creature's body and see what they can find. The three then turned their attention back to the TV as the new woman continued to explain about the creature's sightings. However, she soon cleared her throat. Newswoman. However, we recently heard that there have been sightings of something else as well. Something much different to the flying creatures. This got Riaz, Akeno, and Sona's attention as they wondered what the new woman could be talking about. What else could there be besides the flying creatures? Well, looks like they are about to find out in a second. The trio watched as an image of an elderly man appeared on the screen, followed by another image of the elderly man, but this time he was severely injured and looked as if he was on death's bed. Newswoman. As you can see, this elderly man is currently in the hospital and is barely alive. The police found him floating out in the ocean after his boat was destroyed. Now normally you would think that he crashed into a rock or something. But when he was found he was floating in the middle of the ocean, so there were no rocks that he could have crashed into. This left Riaz, Sona, and Akeno wondering what could have happened to the elderly man. They were glad that he was alive if not barely, but glad he's not dead, cause being in the human world has taught them many things. Riaz. What could have destroyed that old man's boat? There's no aquatic animal that could do that. Not unless a whale decided to land on top of him. The newswoman grew a little frightened expression which got the trio's attention. This meant something real. Newswoman. And now then, we have an image from the elderly man's camera which was recovered from the destroyed ship. What was on it is something out of a fairy tale. Suddenly, an image appeared on the screen. It showed a massive aquatic creature with bright red scales with a lighter underbelly. The sight of the creature caused Riaz, Sona, and Akeno's eyes to widen in terror. Not many things would scare them since they are powerful devils, but the sight of those soulless eyes was a completely different story. Sona. What the hell is that thing? Riaz. I'm not sure, it's definitely not a dinosaur since it looks nothing like one. It looks more like a huge fish or something. Akeno. Forget about that, look at its eyes. I may take pleasure from pain, but that creature is way too much. Sona then noticed something in the creature's mouth, something that made her turn a bit green. Sona. Oh my. This caught Riaz's attention as she looked at her childhood best friend. Riaz. What's wrong, Sona? Are you okay? Sona shook her head as she pointed at the image of the creature, more specifically its mouth. Sona. Look at its mouth. Akeno and Riaz looked at the creature's mouth and also turned a bit green from what they saw. Riaz. Is that a baby whale? Akeno. I believe so, Riaz, and from that creature's soulless eyes, it doesn't look like it killed the poor thing for food. Sona. Are you saying that it did it for sport? Akeno looked at Sona. Akeno. Look at those eyes, tell me if those are the eyes of a hungry predator. Cause to me they don't. Rias. Enough. Both Sona and Akeno turned and looked at the crimson-haired girl. Rias. Now is not the time to be fighting each other, there is some sort of creature out there. We must contact my brother before anyone else gets hurt from it. Akeno and Sona nodded their heads in agreement, cause Rias was right, whatever that creature was just revealed itself to the world, so many will be trying to find it, catch it or even kill it, and who knows what could happen. In an unknown location, a young woman with a voluptuous body, long silver hair, and yellow eyes, was sitting in a chair. She stared at the TV which was currently showing the image of the creature with the soulless eyes that killed the baby whale. This girl didn't know why, but she felt interested in this creature, like there was something strange about it that she had to know. I don't know what you are, but I will find you. No matter how long it takes. Naya, talking to yourself again, Valina. The girl named Valina turned to the voice and saw the source of it. It was a beautiful young woman with a voluptuous figure, long black hair with split bangs, and hazel gold eyes with cat-like pupils. Her attire consists of a black kimono, a yellow obi, a set of golden beads, and an ornately detailed headband. The kimono features a red interior and it is open at her shoulders, giving a view to her large breasts. She also had a pair of black cat ears and 2 black tails. Valina sighed slightly. Valina. What do you want, Kuroka? I thought you were busy with Biku. Kuroka. Oh, I was. But he was boring, so I decided to come to see what my favorite person is doing. Naya. Valina. Well, what I'm doing is none of your business. So would you kindly leave me alone? Kuroka's eyes gazed at the TV as she saw the image of the creature. Kuroka. What's that? Looks like a giant fish. Valina. It isn't a giant fish, it's some kind of sea monster. But don't get any idea of eating it. Kuroka raised her hands in defense as she took a step back. Kuroka. Okay. What's got under your skin, girlfriend? Valina sighed as she turned her attention to the creature again, her eyes locked onto its soulless ones as she felt drawn to them. Valina. There's something about this creature, I don't know what, but I just feel drawn to it for some reason. Like it's gonna play a huge role in my life or something. Kuroka didn't say anything as she also looked at the image of the creature. Kuroka. Strange, I feel drawn to it as well. But my senses are telling me to stay away from it. Why? Somewhere not too far from Kuo, in a forest that was silent with only the wind blowing through the trees' leaves. The birds flew high into the sky as they were out to either go somewhere or out to find food. However, this silence soon vanished as the sound of flesh ripping, bone snapping, and cracking was heard. This noise sent any animals in the nearby area running or flying in fear. This went on for a few minutes before silence filled the forest again, but eventually, there was a small chuckle. Finally, after so long, someone walked out from behind a tree. It was a teenage boy around 17-18 years old with a muscular but also lean build. He had black to almost charcoal gray hair and yellow eyes. I have returned once again. Chapter 5. The sun was high in the sky as it seemed like a regular peaceful day in the small town of Kuo. The birds were flying through the sky as the gentle breeze blew the leaves of the tree. Yeah, it seemed like it was gonna be a nice and calm day. At Kuo Academy, the students that arrived early chatted among themselves as the rest had just arrived at the school. Standing under a nice shady tree, staring at the school was a teenage boy with black to almost charcoal gray hair and yellow eyes. This boy watched as the students walked through the gates of Kuo without a care in the world. As the boy watched, some red dust seemed to fall from the boy's hair. Well then, I think it's time to welcome myself back to my old stomping grounds. Can't stay here for long, otherwise, someone will notice me. The part from him didn't want to come back to Kuo Academy, but he would be damned if he had to go through what he went through again. He suffered for what felt like a millennia, every second felt worse than hell itself. He tried to call for help, but no one answered him. He begged and screamed for help, but all he got was silence and nothing but silence. When it was finally over, the boy felt like he was the happiest day of his life, but he soon learned many new things from what he went through, things that he will always remember. The boy gritted his teeth slightly as the memories of what he went through filled his mind. Like hell, I'm going through that bullshit again, never again. The boy's eyes seemed to glow yellow slightly as he started to make his way towards the school gate. When he walked through the gate, all eyes seemed to be on him. He just stepped into Kuo Academy for not even 3 seconds, and already he's gotten this much attention. The boy almost deadpanned by the fact that all attention was on him. Now I know what it feels like to be an anime character. The new student always seemed to be the popular one. But technically I'm not a new student, I'm an old one that's returning. The black-haired boy then started to hear whispers from the other students, first from the females. Female 1. Hey, who is that guy? Female 2. I'm not sure, but I gotta say he's pretty hot. You think he's single? Female 3. I don't know, let's just hope he isn't a pervert. We don't need one to replace Hyoudou. The black-haired boy kind of felt offended by the girl's words, but secretly smirked. They are gonna be in for a shock. He then heard the boys. Boy 1. Who the hell is this bitch? Boy 2. I don't know, but he's getting all the girls' attention. Boy 3. bastard. The black-haired boy couldn't help but sigh at the comments. Seriously, I leave for like what a week and this is the bullshit I get as a welcome back. This caught the student's attention. Boy 1. The hell are you talking about? The black-haired boy deadpanned. You're kidding me, right? Please tell me that some of you recognize me. The black-haired boy saw multiple heads shake, signaling that they didn't recognize him. This caused the black-haired boy to sigh in annoyance. Was it really that tough to recognize him? Issei. Come on, it's me, Issei. Silence filled the air as the student stared at the black-haired boy in shock. Everyone. What? Issei. Yeah, it's me, Issei. How the hell can you guys not recognize me? Boy 1. Well, first of all, your hair is black. Issei. Wow, racist. Boy 1. Oh, go book yourself. Issei deadpanned. Issei. But I'm not the gay one. Boy 2. Yeah, that's my job. Boy 3. Excuse me, what the buck? Issei couldn't help but sweat drop at this turn of events. Issei turned to the sound of the voice, or rather voices, and dodged an incoming punch. The one who threw it was one of Issei's friends. These two were Motohama and Mitsuda. They have been Issei's best friends ever since they first got to Kuo Academy. Before the incident that caused Issei to go through immense suffering, the trio was well known as the most hated group of perverts in the school. They used to go around and peep on a ground of girls called the Kendo girls whenever they can. Sure, it normally ends up with them getting their ass beaten, but it was worth it in the end. But now that Issei is back after going through what felt like hell for him, he's not sure if he is capable of going back to his old ways anymore. Issei. Hey you two, why did you try and attack me? Mitsuda. Do you have any idea how worried we were? We thought you left us for good. Issei. Well, I'm back and I'm not going anywhere. Motohama. Which means the pervert trio is back in action. As Mitsuda and Motohama began to celebrate, Issei simply sighed and started to walk away. This caught his friends' attention as they looked at him. Mitsuda. Issei. Where you going? Issei. I'm going to class, sigh around. With that, Issei made his way into the school building. As he walked down the hallways he heard some more whispers about him, some good and some bad, but that didn't matter to Issei. He was glad that he was finally back somewhere he knows, but that doesn't mean he also missed swimming around in his aquatic form. Sure, he went through was basically hell and hated every single moment of it. But when it was over he got to feel what aquatic animals felt every single day, and that was freedom. As Issei continued to walk, there was some red dust coming off him, but it didn't get noticed by the other students, which were good. He didn't feel like explaining the red dust to them. Time skip. Issei stood in front of his old classroom door. It kinda gave Issei the feeling of deja vu from when he first arrived at Kuo Academy long ago. When he first arrived at Kuo he was just a simple teenage boy who had a perverted personality and loved breast, but now look at him. He has gone through hell and is back completely different. He's not even human anymore. Issei sighed slightly. Issei. Well, let's get this over with. Can't wait out here forever. And so Issei knocked on the door and waited for a minute or so before he heard a voice telling him to come inside. Come in. And so Issei opened the door and walked inside his classroom. He got stares from his classmates and a slight smile from his teacher. Teacher? Ah, Issei Hyoudou. I see you have returned after being gone for a whole week. Issei. Yeah, sorry took so long. I had some things to do. The teacher sighed. Teacher? Just don't do it again, you have missed a lot of homework and assignments. Issei simply waved his teacher off. He knew that he was gonna miss some stuff, but he didn't have much of a choice to be away. Issei. Yeah. He then turned his attention to his classmates who stared at him with looks of either shock, awe, or disgust. He could understand the disgust one since he was a pervert who peeped on girls all the time. But he's been gone for a whole week and they are still pissed about all the times he peeped on them. Issei. Hey all, how's it going? You'll miss me? Silence was the only answer Issei received as his classmates just stare at him. Issei. Okay then, talk about a tough crowd. Issei made his way back to his old seat and saw that it was just how he left it, but the only difference is that it had a little bit of dust on it. However, this didn't bother Issei at all. He simply shrugged it off and sat down in his chair. So, you got a new hair color, Hyoudou? Issei turned to the voice and saw one of his classmates, Aika Kiryu. She was a beautiful young girl who was slightly shorter than Issei. She wore spectacles, had gold-colored eyes, and lightly messy brunette hair tied into braids on each side. Issei. Oh, hey glasses girl. I did get a new hair color. Aika then noticed that Issei's eyes were a different color as well. This shocked her cause she thought that it was only his hair that changed, but apparently his eyes did as well. Aika. Why your eyes, they're yellow. This got the whole class's attention as they saw that what the brown-haired girl was talking about was true. They thought they were only imagining it. Issei. Yeah, my eyes are yellow. I know it's rare or whatever, but I don't think it should be this much of a shock. Girl 1. What are you talking about? Yellow eyes have never been a thing. It's always been blue, green, brown, hazel, and sometimes red. But besides those, yellow eyes have never been seen before. Issei simply shrugged his shoulders. Issei. I guess I'm special then, even though I don't feel special. He almost chuckled when he said that, but the black-haired boy controlled himself. He didn't want to sound like an asshole since it was just his first day back from his hell. Aika then decided to use her secret technique on Issei. She basically stared at the black-haired boy's crotch, and when she did, blood shot out of her nose as she fell to the ground. This sudden act caused the other girls to get worried for their fellow female students, as the males were just confused about what just happened. Girl 1. Aika, are you okay? Girl 2. Speak to us, girl. Girl 3. What happened? You were fine a second ago. Aika. Massive, it's bigger than any I have ever seen before. A true monster. This confused the class as they wondered what the brown-haired girl was talking about. Aika was kinda weird. You see, she had the ability to know how big a boy dick was just by looking at it, even if they wear pants she will know. Issei raised an eyebrow. Issei. She looked at me for 5 seconds and now she's on the ground. Well, wasn't expecting this to happen. The class looked at Issei as they put the pieces together. The females' faces nearly became as red as tomatoes, cause Aika basically said that Issei had a massive cock. The boy felt jealous as they glared at the black-haired boy. Issei noticed this and couldn't help but sigh at this. Issei. This is why I didn't want to come back. Time skip. Issei was making his way out of class as he had his hands in his pockets. The class was basically normal, except for all the stares he got throughout the entire class. It didn't bother Issei much, though there are some parts where it felt annoying, especially when the girl kept on staring at his crotch. The black-haired boy sighed to himself as he shook his head. Issei. Thanks a lot, Aika. Now there's gonna be rumors about that for the rest of my life. Now I wish I went back to my hell. Suddenly, Issei stopped walking as images of him screaming in pain and agony flashed through his mind. His cries filled his ears as the black-haired boy gritted his teeth. Why did he have to say that? Just why? Things were going good so far and he just had to go and think that. Quickly shaking his head, Issei made his way out of the school building so he can go and eat his lunch in peace, away from the other students. He just wanted to be left alone and not draw any more attention to himself. That's the last thing that Issei wanted, his attention. He just wants to pretend that everything is normal. However, Issei soon stopped walking once again as he realized something that made him want to punch himself in the face. He realized that he doesn't have any lunch at all, like he turned into his new human form like not even a few hours ago, and it took him nearly forever to get to Kuo. Unfortunately, the black-haired boy seemed to forget to plan out how to get food. He couldn't go back to his parents cause they would just question him on why he disappeared all of a sudden, but then again the school should have called them an hour ago. If they did that, then Issei's parents would basically be on the school grounds looking for the black-haired boy. But they weren't, which could only mean one thing: something happened to them. But what could have happened? Issei didn't see anything in the newspapers from the stands he passed on his way to Kuo, which means that his parents aren't hurt or dead. Issei pinched the bridge of his nose as he sighed to himself. He needed to calm down before he gets himself worked up about all this. Issei. Okay, I need to calm down, everything is alright. Nothing bad is happening. Issei didn't get to his sentence as he felt someone was watching him. The black-haired boy quickly turned, and his yellow eyes were greeted by a sight that he remembered all too well. It was Ria's Gremory, the most beautiful girl in all of Kuo. She is basically the queen of the entire place, or rather the empress. All the boys are madly in love with her, and all the girls dream of becoming as beautiful as her. Before his death, Issei remembered seeing her looking down at him and his two perverted friends. But that was only for a brief moment before she turned away, leaving Issei with a blush on his face. However, this time was much different cause Issei's senses were altered. He could smell a strange scent coming from her, one that signaled that she wasn't human at all. Though Issei had a feeling that there may be some people in Kuo who aren't human, since he remembered a certain black-haired girl with violet eyes who killed him. Issei's eyes locked onto Ria's eyes, and the two stare at each other, but the black-haired boy's eyes seemed to have glowed slightly yellow as he stared at the crimson-haired girl. A small grin began to grow onto Issei's face as it revealed some sharp fangs in the black-haired boy's mouth. Issei. Well, Ria's, whatever you are, let's hope you don't try to fight me. Cause if you do, I'll have to declare the end upon you, plus I may need you to finish the ritual. Chapter 6. Issei continued to stare at Ria's Gremory as he had a small toothy grin on his face. It was like the two were staring into each other's souls cause neither of them moved for a solid 3 minutes. However, before long the crimson-haired girl walked away, leaving Issei staring at the empty window frame. A small chuckle escaped the black-haired boy's mouth. Issei. Well, now, things are getting interesting. Ria sat on a sofa staring at a chessboard in front of her, with her queen and best friend Akeno standing next to her. Ria's. Akeno, how is he back? Akeno looked at the crimson-haired girl with a confused expression on her face. Akeno. What do you mean, Ria's? Who is back? Akeno noticed that Ria's had a serious expression on her face, so she can tell that this was important. Ria's. Issei Hyoudou, he is somehow back after a whole week of disappearing. This left Akeno shocked. Akeno. That's impossible, he was killed by the fallen angels. You even saw his blood at the park, right? Rias nodded her head. Rias. I did, but I also saw that red dust that Sona told me about. I also think I noticed some on that creature we. Bekeno. Rodin. This got Ria's attention as she looked at the black-haired girl. Rias. Excuse me? Bekeno. I got word from your brother that the creature we encountered will be known as Rodin. I'm not sure why, but that's what he said. Ria sighed slightly, not at the name of the monster, but at the fact that her brother decided it. He had always wanted to name a new species of creature in the world, looks like this was his chance. Rias. Anyways, I saw some red dust on Rodin's body. So the red dust must have a connection to Issei. Bekeno. Well, what shall we do then? Should we leave him be? Or shall we question him? Rias went silent as she began to think to herself, if she questions Issei, then this could end up in a fight that would not be good. But if they leave him alone, then Rias won't find out more about the red dust or how he's alive. After thinking about it for a moment, she let out a small sigh. Rias. I'm not sure, I'll think about it. But for now, I need a shower. Rias stood up as she began to take her clothes off. She then placed them on the sofa so she can put them back on when she was done. She then walked into a room that had a shower in it. She turned it on as the water began to envelop her body. She began to think about Issei and what she saw in his yellow eyes. Rias. Those eyes, those weren't the eyes of a pervert, those were the eyes of an apex predator. Issei Hyoudou, who, her, what are you? After his little stare-off with Rias, Issei somehow found his two perverted friends who were looking at some hentai books and DVDs. As they were, there were some girls looking at the trio with looks of disgust as they began to say some harsh but truthful comments. Girl 1. Those three are the worst. Girl 2. Filthy perverts. Girl 3. I knew that Hyoudou was always the same pervert as usual. However, Issei wasn't looking at the hentai books and DVDs cause he was too busy thinking about stuff, but he did hear the harsh comments. Issei. I forgot how annoying this place can be. I'm so glad that none of these idiots are a part of the ritual. Speaking of which, I'm gonna have to send more flyers to expand the range of the barrier. As Issei was thinking to himself, both Mitsuda and Motohama were trying to get the black-haired boy's attention, which was proving to be difficult. Mitsuda. Issei. Motohama. Issei, wake the buck up, you son of a bi. Getting annoyed by his two friends pickering, Issei delivered a strong punch into both Mitsuda and Motohama's faces. This attack caused the two to fall back and fall to the ground. Issei looked down at his two friends and glared at them as his yellow eyes seemed to shine in the light. Issei. Will you two shut the buck up, you're giving me a splitting headache. Recovering from the punch they had just received, the two boys glared at Issei. Mitsuda. Well, you weren't re. Issei. I don't give a shit about your bucking books or DVDs, you two are nothing to me. I could easily end both your pathetic lives. Hearing these words caused both Mitsuda and Motohama to freeze as they stared at the black-haired boy in shock and fear. Not just them, but many stupids who were watching were also scared of Issei's words. They had known Issei for a long time, he was a fellow student, even though he was a pervert that peeped on girls. But they had never seen him angry before, well, nothing like this. Issei was gonna say something else, but before he could, he was stopped by the sound of the ringing bell. Issei snorted as he glared at Mitsuda and Motohama. Issei. You're lucky. He then turned and made his way back inside the school building. He walked down the hallway passing some other students as he was deep in thought. Issei. Stupid humans annoying the shit out of me. I don't know why I became their friend in the first place, like if I had to listen to their annoying voices one more time, I would have ripped their throats out with my jaw. Issei soon snapped back to reality when he heard males and females screaming, not out of fear but out of excitement. He turned to see what the commotion was, but he soon saw what was going on. It was Ria's Gremory. She was a first-class beauty. She was the most beautiful girl in the entire school, she was basically the top model of the place. As the crimson-haired girl walked down the hallways, Issei couldn't help but snort in annoyance at the fact that everyone else is just gushing over her beauty. Issei didn't see a reason to gush over Ria's beauty, sure he would have when he was his old self, but he's not his old self anymore. Time skip. Issei was making his way to wherever he wants to, cause there is no way he is going back to his regular house. Cause if he does, then his parents will most likely want to know where he has been. And Issei wasn't in the mood to deal with crying, hugging, and whatever else his parents might do. The black-haired boy sighed slightly as he shook his head. Issei. I'm really not in the mood. Suddenly, Issei stopped walking as he felt some sort of killing intent. He noticed the sky changing color from an orangey color to a dark purple. The black-haired boy raised an eyebrow at this. Issei. Okay, unless I'm tripping balls. This should not be happening, and last time I checked I'm not tripping balls. Suddenly, Issei heard footsteps as he turned and saw someone. The person was a man with a pale gray trench coat over a white dress shirt with a matching ascot, black pants and shoes. He also wore a pair of black gloves and a black fedora. How unfortunate, actually bumping into someone like yourself in a place like this. Issei raised an eyebrow as he soon sniffed the air. Once he got the man's scent he narrowed his eyes. Issei. You smell just like hat bitch who quote-unquote killed me a week ago. The man looked at Issei with wide eyes. He soon grew an evil smirk as he chuckled. Well. To think I'm meeting the brat who Rainer killed, or should I say failed to kill since you're still alive. Issei growled slightly, sounding like a vicious animal. Issei. Yeah, I'm alive. Go, any problem with that? Are you know Rainer's acquaintance or something? The man chuckled as two large black feathered wings sprouted from his back. Issei stared at the man's wings as memories of Yuma or rather Rainer flashed through his mind. He remembered those wings all too well. Seeing those wings, those black feathers enraged Issei. His blood began to boil up as red dust began to flow off his body into the air. The man noticed the red dust and was confused. He had never seen anything like the red dust before. Man. What is that stuff? Is it a part of his sacred gear? Is he a devil? He doesn't feel like one. What is this brat? Suddenly, the man's eyes widened as the red dust on Issei grew more and more. But that wasn't a reason for the man's eyes to widen. The reason was of an image of something flashed through his mind, something terrifying. The image showed some sort of huge monster with gray scales and yellow eyes. But those eyes were completely soulless. Those were the eyes of a creature that wanted only death, chaos, and destruction. The man took a step back in fear as sweat began to run down his face. Man. What the hell was that? What the hell are you, Brad? Are you some stray? Or something? Where is your master? Issei growled at the man as his eyes glowed yellow with a hint of red. Issei. No one is my master and no one will be. Nothing will stop me from completing the ritual. Man. Ritual? What the hell are you talking about? What ritual? Answer me, Brad. Issei didn't reply as he glared at the man, having enough of his pickering. So the black-haired boy decided that he shall deal with him. However, Issei soon dodged something as he turned and saw a spear similar to the one that Rainer stabbed him with a week ago. However, while Rainer's spear was a pink to crimson red in color, this spear was more of a blue to aqua in color. Issei. Great, another spear. Do all these crows have the ability to throw spears? Why not swords, or better yet something better? Issei turned back and looked at the man who had an evil grin on his face. The man grew angry at the fact that Issei didn't answer him, so he decided to punish the black-haired boy by trying to kill him. Man. Since I don't sense a trace of your master, it seems like you are a stray, which means I can kill you. After hearing his words, Issei growled at the man once again. How dare this man think that Issei would serve someone? No one controlled Issei, he's been through hell and back. There's no way he's giving his life up to serve some sort of master. Issei's glare hardened as he gritted his teeth. While doing this, the man was about to attack again, but stopped when he noticed something. There was a small blue glow coming from Issei's mouth. This caused the man to take a step back cause he didn't know what the black-haired boy would do. The man watched as Issei opened his mouth wide as a blue ring of some sort formed in front of him. The man watched in fear. He wanted to move, but his body wouldn't budge. Man. What's happening to me? Why won't I move? Is it cause of this brat? What did he do to me? And what is that ring for? Issei remained where he was as the ring held its position, but what happened next shocked the man. Issei quickly looked up as a long blue beam of energy fired from his mouth. This caused a powerful shockwave that sent the man flying into a tree and injuring one of his wings. The man gritted his teeth from the pain, but he stared in shock and horror as he watched a blue beam pierce through the clouds and filled the night sky with blue light. Before long, Issei maneuvered the beam and used it to slice the upper half of the tree that the man was under. The man looked up, and before he could move, the tree held down, pinning him to the ground. After doing that, Issei quickly closed his mouth as the blue glow stopped. He snorted as smoke started to appear from his nose. He then started to make his way towards the man. Eventually, Issei stood over the man and looked down at him with a sinister grin on his face. The sight of the grin caused the man to get scared, cause he was now facing not a boy, but an actual monster. Issei. Well then, you weren't that tough. That was my first time using that attack, and I barely had to do anything. The man gritted his teeth as he glared at the black-haired boy. How dare he make a fool out of him like this? Man. Damn you, brat, when I get out of this, I'm gone. Issei. Gonna what? Kill me? Issei then let out a small laugh as his eyes shined yellow. Issei. I've already died. I have been through hell and back. And now I declare the end will be upon you all. The man's eyes widened as he saw a familiar glow slowly start to appear in the black-haired boy's mouth. Issei. Such a shame, you weren't a part of the ritual. So you weren't really important. That word again, what ritual was the black-haired boy talking about? What is the ritual? Man. What ritual? Issei grinned. Issei. Well, since this is you're about to die, I'll tell you about the ritual. The man waited silently for the answer. There was no way he was gonna die. He will break free and escape with new information. Issei. Serao Fim.Terra. The man was about to say something, but before he could, Issei unleashed another blue beam that turned the man's body into a charred corpse. It not only did that, but the beam also burned the tree and the ground. Issei continued this even though the man was dead, but he didn't care whatsoever. But before long he quickly closed his mouth as the glow faded away. With the death of the man, Issei stood alone as nighttime had enveloped the sky of Kuo. The black-haired boy looked up at the night sky and snorted slightly. Issei. Well, better hurt off. Issei was about to head off to find somewhere to sleep, but, well. It seems like you had a fun time. Singular Point. Issei froze as he turned his head and saw someone. The person was a man with a slim man with beige-colored skin and a permanently affixed smile full of sharp yellow teeth. He sported a red-cropped angled bob cut with dark reddish-gray tips at the ends and two large dark reddish-gray tipped tufts of hair extending from the top of his head, evoking the ears of a deer. His eyes had dark red sclery, bright red irises, and black pupils. He also wore a dark red oval-shaped monocle, rimmed with black, over his right eye. Issei stared at the man, his yellow eyes meeting the man's eyes as he only had 3 words to say. That's right, 3 words. Issei. Who are you? Chapter 7. Issei. Who are you? Issei stared at the man in front of him. The black-haired boy didn't hear or sense anything around him when he was dealing with that black-feathered crow. However, Issei could sense a powerful aura coming from this person. He felt something similar coming from Ria's grimoire earlier today, but he didn't bother thinking about it. But this person in front of him wasn't like Ria's, also that grin on his face was strange. Issei has heard the phrase "you're never fully dressed without a smile," but from the looks of the guy in front of him, it looks like he hasn't stopped smiling in years. The guy let out a small chuckle. This caught Issei's attention, as the guy's voice sounded like there was a radio in his voice or something. Alistair. Ah, Singular Point. It's been so long since we've seen each other. What is this? The 10,000 attempts. There have been so many tries that even I can't keep up. I might as well tell you my name again. My name is Alistair. The radio demon, but I also have another name. This confused Issei. What did Alistair mean by 10,000 attempt? Did this dude know Issei or something? The black-haired boy had no knowledge of this Alistair dude. But at the moment, Issei was more interested in what Alistair's other name is. Issei. And that is. Alistair's smile grew more as he snapped his claw-like fingers. A red energy enveloped him as his appearance changed. Issei's eyes widened in complete shock as he couldn't believe his eyes. Alistair H. I'm also known as Issei Hyoudou. Issei stared at Alistair, or rather his counterpart, in silence. He couldn't believe it. Issei. H. How are you me? Alistair chuckled at the black-haired boy's reaction. It was like he knew Issei was gonna do that. Alistair H. Even after seeing that reaction so many times it still gets me. Now then, I know you have some questions about this. Issei. You think how the buck are you me? You better tell me right now or else. Alistair didn't flinch from Issei's threat as he noticed a blue glow appearing from the black-haired boy's mouth. The radio demon knew that he had to calm the situation down before things get out of hand. Alistair H. Calm down, Singular Point. Calm down, the reason I'm you is cause I am you. But I'm from a different universe. Issei. A different universe. Issei was left speechless from Alistair's words. He was from a different universe. He should be surprised, but for some reason, he is not. Why is he not shocked? Did he know that Alistair was from another universe? The black-haired boy was brought out of his thoughts by Alistair's voice. Alistair H. If you're wondering why you're not shocked, it's cause we have met before. But I can't say much. Issei raised an eyebrow at Alistair's words. He had met him before. How come the black-haired boy didn't know? Or maybe he did know the radio demon, but he doesn't remember. Issei. I see, well then. Why are you here? Alistair H. Well, to help with the ritual of course, but I know that it will come in time. Issei narrowed his yellow eyes. Issei. You know of the ritual and what it will do. Alistair let out a small laugh as he grinned. Alistair H. Of course erao fim da terra. Issei couldn't help but chuckle at the words from the demon. Looks like this demon really did know of the ritual. Issei. You know, I'm starting to like you, Alistair. I feel like you and I are gonna be really good allies. Friends. Partners. Who knows? Alistair chuckled. Alistair H. I agree, my friend, but for now this is where we're gonna go our separate ways. Cause you're about to fall unconscious. Issei. Wait, wah. Suddenly, Issei's eyes felt heavy as he tried to keep himself standing. However, the black-haired boy then fell to his knees. The last thing the black-haired boy saw before losing consciousness was a red glow followed by footsteps walking away from him. That was all before he was consumed by darkness. Time skip. They rose upon the town of Kuo as Issei was sleeping soundly in a bed of some kind, but he was soon woken up by the sound of an alarm clock with a girl on it. As the alarm clock went off, Issei raised his hand and smashed it before groaning. Issei. So noisy, it's too early for that shit right now. The black-haired boy then went back to sleep, but it didn't last for long cause both his eyes soon shot open. Issei. Wait a second. Issei laid up as he looked around and found himself in a very familiar place. The black-haired boy knew what this place was. This place was certainly familiar to Issei, cause it was a place that he never thought he would see again. It was his bedroom, the one he lived in when he was still just a perverted teenage boy. Issei. My old room. The black-haired boy then realized something as he checked his body and saw that he was naked. Issei. Why the hell am I naked? Wait, I should be asking why am I back in my old bedroom? So many questions were flowing through the black-haired boy's mind, so many to the fact that he couldn't possibly answer them all himself. He needed answers and he needed them right now. Suddenly, Issei was brought out of his thoughts by something. The black-haired boy blinked in confusion, it sounded like a feminine voice. He turned his head to the voice and saw a certain crimson-haired girl sleeping beside him, completely naked. Issei blinked once again as he stared at the crimson-haired girl, confused about two things. The first is why is she in his bed? And the second is why is she naked? Issei. Why the buck is she naked? Actually better question is why is she in my bucking bed? Before long Riaz began to slowly open her eyes as she laid up and stretched while letting out a yawn. Riaz. Is it morning already? The crimson-haired girl looked at Issei with a smile on her face as she was showing her body in all its glory. The black-haired boy simply stared as he didn't know if he should say something or not. But he soon snapped out of it as his yellow eyes looked into Riaz's blue eyes. Issei. So, would you like to tell me why are you in my bed and naked? Riaz. I found you unconscious so I brought you here to see if you are injured. Luckily you weren't injured, you were simply exhausted. Issei. Okay, and the naked things? Riaz smiled at the black-haired boy. Riaz. I prefer to sleep naked, it feels nice to sleep with no clothes on. Why? You see something you like? Issei went silent as he didn't know what to say to her question. If he was his previous self, then he would be drooling at the sight of the crimson-haired girl's naked body. But since he isn't his old self, he's not sure how to react to this. Issei simply looked away. Issei. I don't know how to react to that statement and please tell me that we did. Riaz. Don't worry, you're still a virgin. This caused the black-haired boy to sigh in relief. He was not ready to have a girlfriend just yet, he's still a little skeptical after what he's been through. Issei stood up, not caring at the fact that he was still naked as he turned and gave Riaz a serious stare. The black-haired boy's yellow eyes seemed to shine in the light as he looked at Riaz. Issei. Now then you better start explaining yourself and what's going on here. Otherwise, you'll end up like that pathetic crow did last night. This caught Riaz's attention as the crimson-haired girl raised an eyebrow at the black-haired boy's words. She wondered what he meant by crows, but she eventually put two and two together and figured it out. Riaz. I see, you met a fallen angel last night and survived. That is something I would like to talk to you about as well. A small growl escaped Issei's throat which surprised the crimson-haired girl from how animalistic it sounded. Issei. You better start talking, I went through hell and back to be what I am now. I had to swim from out in the middle of the ocean to get back to this pathetic town. Riaz's eyes widened from Issei's words, swam from the middle of the ocean. If the crimson-haired girl remembered correctly, that is where the creature was, that giant sea monster. Riaz. You're that monster. Issei. The hell are you talking about? Riaz grabbed a remote and turned on the TV that was in Issei's room. The black-haired boy looked and saw the news which showed the picture of him in his aquatic form. Issei couldn't help but snort in annoyance at the fact that his picture is out to the world. Issei. I knew I should have made sure that old man was dead. Well, can't do anything about it now. Time skip. Issei. Riaz. Both Issei and Riaz were wearing their school uniforms and walking towards the school in silence. The black-haired boy was deep in thought but still was paying attention to where he was going. Before long Riaz looked at Issei. Riaz. Issei, I would like to apologize for what I did to your parents. Issei blinked in confusion. What was she talking about? What did she do to his parents? Just then the black-haired boy remembered what Riaz did. Flashback. Issei and Riaz were currently in the dining room, eating breakfast with Issei's parents. His father was an average man in his mid-30s with brown hair and brown eyes. Issei's mother on the other hand looked slightly older than the black-haired boy's father, but what they had similar were brown hair and brown eyes. Issei's mother looked at her son. Mickey. Issei, we're so glad that you finally come out of that room of yours. I don't know what you've been doing in there, but I hope it isn't perverted. Issei blinked at his mother's words. What was she talking about? He wasn't in his room for a whole week, he wasn't even at home for a week. So what the hell could she be talking about? Issei's father looked at his wife as he tried to calm the brown-haired woman down. It was way too early in the morning of any of this. Boru. Honey. Leave the boy be, he's a growing boy. Mickey looked at her husband. Mickey. He hasn't been to school for a whole week, he's probably missed out on so much stuff that he will need for his future. Do you want our son to be a failure? Issei couldn't help but deadpan at his mother's words. How is he gonna be a failure for skipping a few days of school? But besides all that, the black-haired boy was even more confused. Why are his parents not asking about his new hair or his eye color? Or the fact that Riaz is in the house. Issei. Are they on crack or something? Issei soon noticed that his parents' eyes were different, they looked the same, but they looked like they were hypnotized or something. The black-haired boy turned his attention to Riaz as he saw her eyes glowing red. Issei then put two and two together. Issei. So, she can manipulate my parents. Is it hypnotism or memory alteration? Who cares? She making them not ask any stupid questions. Flashback end. Issei looked at Riaz as he waved her off, he didn't get why she should be sorry for him. After all, she didn't do anything wrong, in fact, she helped him. Issei. Calm your tits, Crimson Princess. You didn't do anything wrong. Riaz blushed slightly from him calling her Crimson Princess, but she was more shocked by how calm the black-haired boy was. She expected him to be upset or just furious with her, but he wasn't at all. She didn't sense a drop of anger towards her from the black-haired boy. Riaz. Why you're not angry? But I messed with your parents. Issei once again waved her off. Issei. Why would I be angry at you? You basically saved me from having to explain myself to my parents. I rather keep them in the dark about what I'm doing, otherwise, they will stick their noses where they don't belong. This shocked Riaz even more, all Issei cared about was making sure that his parents didn't stick their noses where they don't belong. Riaz. I see. This left Riaz with even more questions about Issei, he wasn't anything like what she heard. Back then he was just a pervert who loved peeping on girls, but now he doesn't even care. From what she also heard, he left his old friends and some of the other students terrified, seems like Issei has gained a little bit of a short temper. Riaz. I gotta be careful if that glow from his mouth was a type of attack. I better be careful and not get on his bad side, otherwise, things could become very bad. Issei and Riaz continued to walk as Issei was thinking to himself. Issei. Riaz isn't human, I guess I'll find out what she is when we get to Kuo. But she better not stop the ritual, otherwise, things are gonna get bloody. Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching, if you enjoyed this video please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day, bye.